Well, it's a very final day in the first half of the year. Good morning and a warm welcome to your perfect day start to the morning brief. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
And I'm Jeffrey, and as always, we bring you up to speed with the big happenings in the polity, in politics, in the economy, as well as whatever is happening around you. That's the responsibility we have every morning. 2 hours down the line, we'll serve you the best of the best right here on the program. We're broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo.
So let's get things started, shall we? It's the first day of the week, the last day of the half year, that's 2025. So there will be a lot of stock taking, naturally. How was the first half of the year for you, whether you're a business individual or in government, particularly those in government, right? There's a lot of stock taking that should be happening right now. But what a weekend it was, Jeffrey. A very busy weekend, as it always is, with politics, governance. And, you know, one of the things that really stuck out, Jeffrey, for me, is President Bola Tinubu's visit to St. Lucia. And this is something that has gotten a lot of people talking. Why, how, what is going on? Why is the president in St. Lucia and all of that? Well, the presidency has released a statement. Now, this is President Tinubu arrived in St. Lucia, and, well, he got the usual state welcome. Two young ladies presented him with the flowers and all of that. And that naturally got a lot of Nigerians talking. In fact, Jeffrey, a lot of people are hearing about St. Lucia for the very first time because of President Bola Tinubu's visit. So maybe this is also a win for St. Lucia. It's a country in the Caribbean. Some have likened it to Ikorodu in terms of population, saying it's half of this and all of that. But let's go into why the president is in St. Lucia. And I'm sure, Jeffrey, you must have been inundated by some of those questions. Why is the president in St. Lucia? What is he doing there? Originally, he was set to be en route, the BRICS meeting. He was invited for it. So he stopped over at St. Lucia to proceed onwards for the BRICS meeting. But the presidency yesterday said, well, yes, we have seen some of those comments. In fact, a lot of those comments about President Tinubu's historic state visit to St. Lucia. Now, the presidency is trying to clarify the purpose of President Tinubu's visit. So it starts by saying, from the perspective of the government of St. Lucia, the visit by the Nigerian leader paves the way for the rekindling of, get this, our ancestral bonds, igniting a new era of diplomatic, cultural and economic possibilities between our nations. And then that statement goes down memory lane, talks about the very one of the attorney generals that Nigeria had, Sir Darnley Alexander, a St. Lucian-born jurist who died in 1989, served as a chief justice, rather, not attorney general, from 1975 to 1979. And it went on and on. So in a bid, Jeffrey, to maybe convince Nigerians as to why the president visited, I mean, the context was quite a lot that you may be lost, you know, talking about the first, or that's, you know, the Chief Justice of Nigeria went on to talk about another doctor and all of that. But that is a statement from the presidency trying to justify President Bola Tinubu's visit to St. Lucia. So for economic reasons, for ancestral ties and all of that. So Jeffrey, I don't know for you, I've heard all sorts. Have we bought the island, this one, that one? I don't know what it is for you.
The truth is that his visit may not be really a big deal for Nigeria, but perhaps a big deal for St. Lucia. As a small country, I don't even know how many there are. A lot of Nigerians haven't heard, but, you know, it's a Caribbean nation, as Kayode has clearly stated. And all of this is to the effect that people are really asking questions about the president's multiple trips. I think that's where all of this stems from. And so prioritization is the big question. So it's not necessarily that he went to St. Lucia, he's going to BRICS. It's a question as to what are all of this visit bringing back to Nigeria. I saw in a data, Kayode, of, I think from Olusegun Obasanjo, all of the FDIs that were attracted in each administration. Bola Tinubu has spent just 2 years, so 2023, 2024, they've listed how many FDIs have been brought into the country. The president has traveled close to 40 times in 2 years. So I think the argument here is not just about St. Lucia, it's about the multiple trips he's making and how we visited St. Lucia mean anything economically. I don't know whether we're even trading partners and all of that. So that's the big question people are asking. So if you want to do camaraderie with the visit, it's fine. You know, if it's just state visit to help the people of St. Lucia, it's fine. But what people are saying is that if there's no concrete defense, you can't put up any other defense. Because I saw by another statement a lot of historical relationship, cultural exchanges, and all of that. But Nigerians are just curious that the way things are, we should prioritize our trips, especially the #1 citizen of our country, our very own President of the Federal Republic and Commander-in-Chief, as to where he goes to. So I feel that this is more of a benefit, Kaide, to St. Lucia than to us, given their size in everything, population, economy, financial power, opportunities, the list goes on. And of course, maybe you can also excuse the president for the fact that he visited or he spoke to Nigerian community in St. Lucia. But the ruling party or the APC or the presidency should also see where the opposition is coming from. Because I saw Bayonaniga saying the opposition weaponizing criticism for opposition. What else is opposition if it's not criticism? Sometimes I just laugh when I see some of these statements. But I think both sides have, their views as to the president's visit. But for me, analytically, I think people are just asking, why the multiple trips? If some trips are not important, why go there? And if there's no strong reason for going there, I don't give many excuses why you're going there. So I'm sure in the coming days we'll get to find out exactly the visit, but nothing sparks. Not like he's visiting China, he's visiting somewhere to get us a deal. Let's see how it plays out.
And let's see how it plays out. A population of, is it 170,000 or 180,000? As you said, Jeffrey, St. Lucia definitely benefits a lot. They try to link it to all the Caribbean nations, the joint GDP, $130 billion and all of that.
It's called how do you call it? Annotating filibustering.
There you go. That is it. So, let us know what you think. But clearly, this has formed a major part of discussions, both on and offline, in Nigeria. So let's dive deeper into what we have for you on the show today. But Jeffrey, I was just going to ask, what was the other big thing for you over the weekend?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot happening. What's going on with the PDP? I'm curious right now. Well, it looks like there's a bit of peace, cautious peace in Rivers State. We want peace by all means, But the other part is PDP is divided as to what will happen today. Today was meant to be the NEC meeting, the 100th NEC meeting. It's supposed to be the landmark NEC meeting as announced in the 99th NEC meeting, where a decision as to the status of the national secretary was to be made in this NEC meeting, which is why the PDP had to go see INEC, because INEC has to be involved perhaps one way or the other when it comes to change of leadership. But as we speak right now, Damagun and Bala Mohammed and a few other persons have said, after meeting with INEC, they have said, Ayahu, please continue with your role. That NEC meeting, no, we're going to call it expanded caucus. So what will PDP be holding today? A NEC meeting, as pushed by Damagun and Bala Mohammed, no, as pushed by Sheyi Makinde and Governor Peter Amba of Enugu State, or it's going to be an expanded caucus as pushed by Damagun and Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, and the others. That's what I'm watching to see, while I have one of my ears and eyes on Rivers State, as always.
Certainly, Jeffrey. You just tried to simplify the very complex situation. Even while simplifying it, it is still clearly very...
If you go to Port Harcourt and say simplified, that you're referring to Wike-Fubara.
Ah, there you go. So
everything is complex.
It is, really. But not to worry, we're here to give you some clarity, give you a healthy dose of all that you need to know. So, what more do we have for you on the show? I think that's most appropriate. Well, the internal politics, the political situation within the ruling All Progressives Congress continues to hug the headlines. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje resigned last week. We have someone stepping in his place, but there's a wider context to all of this. 2027, the northern influence Is President Bola Tinubu making the moves that will secure his re-election? Don't forget that the coalition is also making the moves to unseat him. So it's a lot we're packing together for you on the show this morning, and we're starting off with what's happening within the APC. Some call it the curse of the APC. You've not had a national chairman finishing the tenure in the life of the APC.
That is a Hercules heel, if you call it that way. It's difficult even for the PDP sometimes to even get a national chairman to run through. There's something about national chairmanship and inability to be able to complete the term. But from there, we'll talk about Rivers State. Well, we saw the move on Thursday night into Friday, where we get to see the former minister of the current minister of the FCT and former governor of Rivers State reconciling with his political godson, Governor Wike-Fubara, shaking hands. It looks like there's peace right now. We're going to explore this conversation. Is this really peace at last? Are all sides on the same page now? Because we've even seen them come out. I think 2 events so far.
Old Shomi,
and
they leave that
father and son. People are saying this is total surrender. Wike won this battle out of an issue. Others are saying no, it's peace and reconciliation. So in your books, is this surrender? Is this reconciliation? What exactly is it? Well, our job is to ask the questions where you give us the answers.
Absolutely, and we have a packed guest list on the show. But that's not all. There's a process before you have the outcome of who gets to lead and all of that, and that's the electoral process. There's a long list of parties seeking registration in Nigeria right now. So INEC, all eyes on INEC to see how that plays out, plus electoral integrity in Nigeria. We'll be speaking to those issues as well. There's an off-cycle election coming, and there's a big one, 2027, coming. How many days do we have now to this election? Just about 2 years or less, actually.
Yeah.
Have we done all the reforms that we have to do? Are we ready to ensure we don't repeat the mistakes of the past? Well, your guess is as good as mine on the show today.
Yeah, Kyle, you have the big question of the day.
Oh, yes. So here goes our big question of the day. And it ties to what's been playing out, particularly in Rivers State. It's a very simple question, but as they always say, there is really never a simple question, particularly when you want to answer the question. So seeing the reconciliation, the intervention by President Bola Tinubu, do you think that this is the best way to resolve the Rivers crisis? Is this the way to go or not? Well, let us know what you think about it through the usual platforms. You can send your messages via WhatsApp. Let's know what you think. The president intervening, the shaking of hands, he's not walking down the aisle now, but at least the walking through Rivers State. Is this the best way to resolve this?
So that's a big question. It took an emergency declaration, a suspension of elected officials, a constitutional, constitutional contention to get to this point of peace. So I just provided the entire context for you to make your answers easy. Is this the best way to resolve the Rivers political impasse by these political gladiators? Well, that's the big question for today. Now, away from that, we'll come back in just a moment to tell you what the dailies are leading with. In just a moment, stay with us.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's take a look at what the front pages are saying, Jeffrey. Well, the front pages, in some sense, have been crowded out by advertorial, so you understand. I mean, these are obligations. But that's not to say that the big stories are still not on the front page, or at least the front pages of the dailies this morning. Quite a number of them. And, Jeffrey, where do we start from? Because it was a busy weekend, and you understand that there'll be quite a lot on the front pages. So maybe we'll start from New Telegraph newspaper.
Okay.
Let's show you how the New Telegraph newspaper is reporting all of the happenings across the country. So New Telegraph leads with, oh yes, PDP. PDP crisis intractable as confusion mars scheduled NEC meeting. So you know what's interesting about the story, Jeffrey? It's on pages 2, 5, 9, 10, and 11. It's a kind of story that I mean, you can't write in one page. You can't write in 2 pages. So you have, how many pages now? 5 pages.
About 5 pages,
dedicated to the story. And they explain as Governor Mba says Southeast reserves right to review future with PDP if... Ooh. And you see, we need dedicated members to rebuild PDP ahead 2027. It's coming from Bode George.
Really intractable. I think PDP knows what their problem is. They are not just bold enough to address their problems. And I think interest wrangling, everybody trying to position themselves as to who should be what. They don't want to abide by their own rule book. Their laws, in fact, is common with political parties. The laws are very clear as to who succeeds what, how who can be removed, what is the condition for participating in an election. These things are written in English.
Yeah.
There's nothing confusing, both in the APC and the PDP.
Yeah.
So, for instance, what's going on with the APC in the issue of Ganduje taking over from Adamu, who was the chairman of the party, and the issue of, you know, the zone that was supposed to replace him and all of that. The laws are as clear as crystal. But for some interest wrangling, people with better watchers outwitting the other persons is what got them here in the first place. And I'm happy the way the Supreme Court has addressed this issue. And I've also seen politicians trying to maneuver their way. But the Supreme Court on this one is very clear. If you go near the Supreme Court, the only thing left for the Supreme Court is to write, besides that, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, all political parties concerning membership and leadership, if you come here again, we will send police after you.
A notice on the door.
I'm telling you, literally, because the Supreme Court has adjudicated, other courts have adjudicated. As long as it has to do with leadership and membership, nothing concerns the court. And you know the funny thing, people who know these things will still say, we have a court injunction, a court order. Which court granted you what? The Supreme Court says if it's not because it's not about nominating candidates, Section 84 or so, subsection 14 of the Electoral Act. Yeah. If it has nothing to do with nomination of candidates, we don't want to see you here. So if the apex court, which is the final court in the land, has made that decision, every other court entertains it. Because what happens now is that they are not navigating around issues of my right is being infringed upon. What exactly is going on with these guys? So
that's how it works. They always find a loophole.
They just find a way. It's as clear as crystal. So PDP should actually put their acts together. It is not an impossible problem to solve, except there are people that just want to bring the party down. For those of us who are journalists, when the opposition is not functional, you make our work quite difficult because there are layers to how to check government. Layer number 1 is the National Assembly. And that layer number 1 is through the opposition in the National Assembly or the generality of the National Assembly. Then you can come to the opposition itself. Then you have civil society. And then the media reports all of this, checking, doing our investigation to find out where the truth really lies. Look at when the APC was the APC then, before they became APC and when they eventually became APC. They gave the PDP a run for their money, then eventually kicked PDP out of the system. Now, none of the opposition is standing anywhere close to being an opposition. They are busy fighting themselves, leaving the work they should do as viable opposition, creating alternative ideas on policy, on governance, and politics. It's very shameful. It's very shameful.
And just to add to that, I think it is clear what is going on here, right? We know what is going on. a lot of people are card-carrying members of the PDP, but in their hearts and with their actions and with even what they say, they're in the APC. Even you find a lot of them in the Labour Party, and they're in the APC as well. So maybe we should just collapse all the structures. Let's re-register new political parties and say, if you belong to, stay here, don't hide behind.
Don't confuse us.
Don't confuse us, because as you said, Jeffrey, now you leave the fourth estate of the realm to now become the opposition.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Like we're now the vanguard of the opposition. No, that's our job, is to be critical of whatever government. When they deserve praise, we praise them. When it's time to be critical, we are critical with them. Like just like what you mentioned now, Nyesom Wike and his people practicing amorphous politics. I will work for the president, but the PDP must do this. What exactly is going on in this country? I don't understand. I guess.
Maybe Eniola can give us some more insight into this. We're joined on the program to review the top stories by the chief correspondent, The Africa Report, Eniola Akikotu, who's live with us in our Abuja studio. Eniola, good morning.
Good morning, Coyote.
I don't know if it's tough for you as well, seeing what's playing out in the PDP as a journalist. You wonder what is going on with the opposition, even in the Labour Party as well, right? So seeing again that the PDP hasn't gotten its acts together, it's far from it. I don't know, as a journalist, maybe speak to us about that first.
I struggle to hear a bit, but if I heard you correctly, you spoke about the crisis in the PDP.
Yeah.
I think it's Deji Adeyanju that said last week that, Tinubu is not going to run in 2027. Most likely we'll just throw to the presidential villa because there's really nobody to challenge him. And if you look at what's going on in the PDP, it's very unfortunate. This is a party that has produced 3 presidents from 1999 to 2015, ruled Nigeria for 16 years, and yet cannot even get its act together. You realize that people like Atiku Abubakar are no longer even commenting on the PDP crisis. They are now talking about coalition, ADA, and all that. That is what is going on now. If you look back at the Anambra governorship election, for instance, the primaries, you know that the PDP, when they put up their nomination forms for sale, nobody came forward to buy. Until when PDP then extended it, then Ezenwafo came forward and picked the ticket, and he was the only person. That shows you that, see, people are beginning to lose faith in that party because they know that, look, the crisis, the intractable crisis is going to affect the electoral fortunes of anybody that picks the party's ticket. And from what is going on now, you can be very sure that it's very, very, very unlikely that the PDP will have any candidates for 2027. And that was why Saraki said on Friday that more governors are going to defect soon. Because everyone is trying to protect their political future. And if they see that, look, this party, the crisis does not want to end, people are going to jump ship. And that is what is going to happen. So this NEC meeting that they say they're going to hold again, I don't see it happening. And if they can't hold NEC meeting, then they will not be able to hold their convention. And if there's no convention, definitely they will not be able to present candidates for their primaries next year. The primaries is in just what, maybe about 8 months. So it's unfortunate, but that's where the party has found itself.
And let's get to other papers as well. I think let's go to this Nigeria. This Nigeria leads with still politics. Ganduje's exit. NNPP puts pressure on Kwankwaso to join APC. Ganduje's exit. NNPC puts pressure on Kwankwaso to join APC. There are so many permutations as to why, NNPP rather, there are so many permutations as to why Ganduje resigned. Some people are saying on health grounds, others are saying the North Central agitation to have their person in power, given that Adamu left, and you know, the whole balancing act. Others are saying Ganduje is a sworn enemy of Kwankwaso. Both of them can be in the same boat, and the president has a good relationship with Kwankwaso now. So there are so many layers, and it's going to be part of our big conversation. But what do you make of this conversation? We also know that Senator Suleiman Kawu of North, I think Kano South, representing Kano South, had defected a while ago. So what do you see in the coming days, and what do you make of this headline?
Well, you know, the NNPP has about 2 factions now, so that headline, I don't really know who is making the statement there. You know, there's one faction that expelled Kwankwaso, and then there's one that is still supporting him. So it's really quite difficult to understand. But yes, it is very, very likely that Kwankwaso is going to the APC. Recall that Kwankwaso was even one of the people who we thought was going to get a ministerial appointment back in 2023. And then, as he was making his way out of the villa, Ganduje was going in. And then Ganduje said he almost slapped Kwankwaso. I don't know if you remember it, because it was a very, very big story at the time and was very funny. One of the orders given to Ganduje was to bring in as many people as he could into the party, especially Kano State, because everyone knows that Kano has the largest voting population in the country. Yes, it might be Lagos, but you know, when it comes to the real numbers on election day, no state comes close to Kano. And so the president needed Kwankwaso at least to come there. But what Ganduje did was the opposite. You see the crisis in Kano State, for instance, where they have 2 emirs. We know that Ganduje also has a hand in that, because he was among those who opposed the return of Sanusi. And so what the president has done effectively is that, look, he had to just weigh his options. That, look, this is a state that has about 6 million votes. And you look at it that Ganduje is not really as popular as Kwankwaso. So he just had to pick the bigger person, and that is what happened. If Kwankwaso is able to fully join the APC, then I think it's going to be a landslide victory for Tinubu come 2027. Because that Kwankwasia movement, yes, it's headquartered in Kano, but they have, you know, supporters in other northern states, in nearby Jigawa, in Kebbi, here and there. So it's not just Kano that is going to come. And you know that once Kwankwaso defects, his governor is going to come with him. Already some of the senators of the NNPP have gone there. So it's game over for the opposition if Kwankwaso is able to fully, you know, join the APC and move with his entire structure.
Eniola, interesting point you make there, but let me just give our viewers heads up that we'll give you some answers to that question, because we have the NNPP joining us any moment from now. But let's take a look at the Abuja Inquirer and see what's happening in your city, Eniola. And the big story is on the FCT teachers and PHC strike. Looks like lots of strike there, particularly when it comes to important sectors, right? Abuja elders demand urgent action, say classic failure of governance, and also to shut down FCT after project commissioning. So we see some sort of a contrast here. Lots of projects being commissioned. You almost think, wow, Abuja has a lot of money, as you would expect. But when it comes to the teachers, the PHCs, it's another case entirely. What's going on, Eniola?
You know, it was one of the things that Peter Obi said last week when he was criticizing Wike for spending 39 billion naira to renovate the International Conference Center. That, you know, you cannot have, you know, crisis in the education sector and then you go about with, you know, cosmetic projects. In fairness to Wike, he's done very well in terms of, you know, infrastructure, roads and all that, but there has been this criticism that when it comes to other areas such as education and health, he has, you know, scored very, very poorly. But of course, some of his people argue that this education crisis, the crisis there, the prolonged strike and all that, is not really under his purview, that it is for the area councils. You know, primary schools are mostly under the area councils, which are the equivalent of the local government. And with the Supreme Court judgment that was delivered last year, that funds should be given directly to the local governments, shouldn't go through the joint account anymore. You know, it's expected that this local governments will be able to, you know, take care of themselves. But what we have seen is that they haven't really, you know, lived up to their responsibilities. So that is the defense that Wike and others are putting forward. But of course, the students don't really care about that. All they want is just go back to school. And I think that's the most important thing. No one really cares under whose authority it is. Just do the right thing. And last week, I saw some protests. Very dark man led some protests. He wore the uniform of one of the schools, and a lot of the students who came out to protest. And I think it's just so unfortunate. We followed the Afrexim Bank conference of last week, where Jeffrey Sachs, you know, spoke for about 1 hour. He said, look, you cannot get it right in Nigeria or in Africa at large, except you first tackle this, the education issue, because the standard of education is very low. And he said, look, no country can rise above the standard of education that it has. And so we need to give ultimate and utmost priority to it. So yes, I think Wike needs to, go, if he was able to, do what he did in Rivers State for the sake of politics, I think he should be able to also do some magic here in the FCT and make sure that the crisis, at least in that education sector, is tackled.
Eniola, it's just a lot to wrap our heads around, but one thing is sure, those teachers, those very vital institutions need to be up and running if we think, or if we say that we're planning for the future. But Eniola, we have to thank you so much for providing the much needed insight. I know as a journalist you're excited because this week will be a banger. So I wish you the very best. I wish you the very best, covering all of those stories, all of the angles. We've been speaking with the chief correspondent of the Africa Report, Eniola Akikwotu. Have a great day, man.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we have the NNPP joining us. We have the APC joining us. So all of the insights that you need to get a better understanding of the political intrigues ahead of 2027, you find right here on the Morning Brief. Stay with us.
Welcome back. For us who are journalists, it's going to be an interesting week, as Kayode has said, because there's a lot of development as far as politics is concerned, both in the APC and the PDP, and perhaps the Labour Party. And somewhere in between the mix, the NNPP has joined that fray. And the National Publicity Secretary of the NNPP is right here with us, Mr. Ladipo Johnson. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
The NNPP has held sway, where it has held sway. I looked at the numbers. I was just doing the data yesterday. 900 and something thousand. What was able to pull in as far as the election is concerned for the NNPP. In fact, as a matter of fact, 1.4 million also was given. That was what was scored by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. Quite influential. So the APC, I think, scored about 500,000. So when you look at the numbers, it tells you where the influence lies. The reason why we had to bring you to this conversation is to the effect that there are so many things being said as to the reason why Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje had to leave the party. We know he's a sworn enemy, political enemy of your principal, Kwankwaso, in that sense. So they said, now, okay, now that he's left the party, not left the party, left his position as chairman, this has created a room for Rabiu Kwankwaso to come in. Is that this narrative? What do you make of it?
Well, it's the same thing I have heard. We read.
No, you're the National Publicity Secretary.
Exactly. We read these things over the internet, and but the truth of the matter is that the National Working Committee of the party or the National Executive have not been sitting with anyone to discuss a merger or coalition or working together, or an accord, whatever you want to call it. We haven't. As an individual, Senator Kwankwaso has not informed the party that he's talking to anyone or what have you. But naturally, these things happen. You would guess he has his own principles. And his is that for 2 years, he does, not that he works, but he doesn't criticize, he gives that government till midterm. Now it's midterm now, it's passed. That was on May 29th. And so now we will begin to do more things and come out. So he hasn't informed us that he's been speaking to the APC or he hasn't been speaking to the APC. Your guess is as good as mine as to what would happen.
Well, okay. But we know that Suleiman Kawu has actually defected to the APC and he's been welcomed. So sometimes, if you follow politics, there are foot soldiers that go ahead of the big masquerade joining the party. But let's bring in Mr. Felix Moka, the APC National Publicity Secretary. Mr. Moka, welcome to the program. I'm sure it's been a busy one for you this period. And I'm sure you've heard all the possible reasons as to why Abdullahi Ganduje had to resign. There was a presser by you saying for personal matters he has to attend to, but there are a plethora of other reasons. So first, why did he resign? And I would like you to speak to the other reasons people are giving in terms of the political permutation as to why he left, why he resigned his position as the chairman of the party.
Thank you very much, John. As far as we are concerned, you know, the reason National Chairman Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje resigned from his position, we've provided that publicly, and that's really the reason he resigned. Now, look, I understand that when an event like this happens, people tend to speculate and conjure up all kinds of other reasons why they think the national chairman may have resigned. But, you know, what I disclosed in my statement is the much we believe and we know. We are not the one who resigned. The individual who resigned told us why he resigned. And it's not in our place to speculate, you know, to other explanations for his actions. We're not going to do that because we're a political party. You know, all we're concerned about now, it's not about really bothering about the reasons or other reasons, you know, why he left his office, but to focus on the process for his replacement going forward. And as I indicated in my statement, we are now consulting to convene a next meeting of our party to have that conversation and hopefully have a decision about, you know, a successor to Dr. Ganduje.
Will it be out of place to have Mr. Kwankwaso joining the APC? Because I think at this stage you need him more than some will say he needs you, because the president needs that re-election. He sort of just has his votes in the bag. He carries it around, as they described former President Buhari. So will it be out of place to have him join the APC?
You know, I thought I just listened to your guest who was speaking say that as far as he was concerned, that he had not heard from, you know, Kwankwaso about this entire speculation. You know, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you know, Kwankwaso is an elite. He's one of Nigeria's, you know, eminent citizens. And he is free as a political agent to make decisions for himself, to decide to join, you know, our party or to join any party or to remain in his party. You know, as of today, you know, my dear friend, I can't tell you anything about that. But, you know, if tomorrow Kwankwaso decides to join APC, we will deal with that and, you know, respond as we have responded to others who have made such requests, whether they are governors or, you know, members of the National Assembly or, for that matter, other regular citizens who may indicate interest to join our party. I mean, the process is the same. You know, we celebrate those who come into our party, and we are hoping to grow even larger than we are already.
So it wouldn't be out of place to have him join the APC?
He is a citizen of the Republic of Nigeria.
All right.
Anyone who wishes to join APC may join APC.
All right.
You know, this is not exclusive to Kwankwaso, to anyone in particular. As a matter of procedure, we, you know, our doors are open. We welcome those who want to join our party, who want to work with us, work with the president to achieve his the objectives he set for this administration.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moka. We'll come back to you know, the intrigues, again, particularly within your party, this issue about national chairman and all of that. But Mr. Johnson, well, he said that Mr. Kwankwaso is a free citizen, and you've said that he doesn't really speak about the governance of things until the midterm and afterwards. Yes, and I want you to be as upfront as you can be, because there's a politics of things and then there's the governance of it, right? So all of the politics, the games, the intrigues can play. But when it comes to governance, it's real business because it affects the lives of Nigerians.
Yes.
The outcome that the APC has been able to achieve in 2 years of President Bola Tinubu's tenure, or you can say the 10 years of the APC put together, because some people forget that the APC was in power 8 years before now. Does it look like something that Mr. Kwankwaso wants to pair himself with, wants to, the word fails me, but something wants to associate himself with the outcome that this APC government has been able to achieve? Is this something he wants to put his name to?
Well, that would be left to him. However, there are several things he said in the past year or past 2 years. You know, once in a while he speaks. And there are certainly things that we do not feel should be where they should be. Insecurity, you know, the economy, things like that. And we've said it time and time without number that this government could improve on those things. So no one is saying that the past 2 years or the past the 8 years, before that, we're not saying it's been perfect or whatever. We said a lot of things, even at the last election, after President Buhari's tenure. So whether he would want to associate with this present government, I'm not sure. I do not know. I know that if he believes it is a possibility, if he believes he can bring something to the table, you know, the Kwankwaso movement, very people-orientated movement. And you can see what's happening in Kano with the education, healthcare, and what have you. He's slightly left of center. He's a people's person. And I'm sure that if he feels that his moving in will not have an impact on the way the masses, the welfare of the masses will improve, then he probably will not. But and I hope so as well that he will. If he, I will not be around the table, but you don't fall into. You don't go to bed with odd bed. You don't want an odd bedfellow. So you have to decide on. It's not just about getting into government or about winning. You have to decide on a platform. When we're talking about platform, I'm not talking about party now. I'm talking about like the manifesto. What do you believe in? What will happen healthcare? What will happen with the economy and things like that? Very important. And I'm sure for him, if he seeks our opinion, those are the things we will say he should negotiate before going in. And if they say it's not good, no. But I'm not saying he should go in, because in the party, I have to tell you the truth, we have some people who believe, oh, just join the APC. That's true. We also have people who want to go to the coalition, who are saying it's an option. And we have some people in the center who say, look, let's just be building, and maybe some people will join us, etc., etc. So there are still basically three things on the table.
And you have faction too. There's a faction.
No, that's been sorted out. They keep talking. In fact, one of them, my very good friend, wrote something about Kwankwaso leaving, that now the NNPP will be this, it will be that. There are court judgments to that effect. They're not, unfortunately, they are friends. Unfortunately, they are not. They're not in the picture. They'll keep shouting, keep talking, and I keep telling them they do my work for me, because they keep the NNPP in the news.
All right. Let's take it to Mr. Moka. Mr. Moka, I know that you have clearly stated in your presser so the reason why Abdullahi Ganduje left the party. But we also have other people commenting. And in fact, they're excited. I think we had one of them in our sister program yesterday about the fact that this is now the time to return the chairmanship of the party to where it should be. I mean, referencing issues around Abdullahi Adamu. So I looked at the numbers yesterday by region. The president won North Central, one Northwest, one Southwest, and then the other parties distributed 2 and 1 accordingly. So, but when you look at the numbers that Mr. Kwankwaso brings to the table, almost 1 million in an election. In fact, I think the Southwest, no, the Southeast, the entirety of the Southeast, the APC did not score up to 150,000 from my numbers that I calculated. But only in Kanu, Kwankwaso's NNPP scored almost 1 million votes. As far as that is concerned. So I know that you politicians look at number. Where I'm going to with the question is to the effect that I want you to speak to the issue of internal democracy, because some of the agitation they've raised is to the effect that if you have the Speaker of the House of Representatives from the Northwest, how do you now have the chairman of the party also from the Northwest? We can even go further to say the Deputy Senate President from the Northwest. So that's why they're agitating. If you look at what they call the Big Six in terms of distribution of powers, I'm referencing how the PDP does it. I'm not sure of how the APC does. Speak to the issue of internal democracy and what the party intends to correct going forward.
You know, every moment like this, where opportunity is offered to any institution, including the APC, to recalibrate, to review, to take another look at whatever system that is dealing with, we take that opportunity seriously. And our NEC is an institution that is properly constituted with individuals, leaders, members of the party from every zone of this country. Yes, we are very aware of the agitations of our members from the North Central, for instance, insisting that the position of the national chairman was zoned to them and that they should be allowed to fill that position in the event of a vacancy. All of those concerns and agitations and demands and requests will be at the table and will be within the focus of our next NEC meeting as they review this situation and make decisions. I don't think anything is off limit. So, those who think that they deserve or that it's equitable for them to provide a replacement for this chairman, they will be heard. And I think that, we have leaders in our party, the president, who is also about fairness and who understands the importance of balancing. So, look, I don't want to speculate. As I've always told anyone, look, it's not helpful to speculate as to what the outcome might be, but I know that we will take deliberateness in the review of all of these circumstances in order to make decisions that hopefully we meet the perception of fairness or inclusion or whatever other good that might be served. We will do that, and I am very confident that at the end of our next meeting, some of these issues will be put to rest.
Mr. Moka, I just wanted to quickly speak to this, but 1 second. Let me come to Mr. Ladipo Johnson because of time, and I just wanted to speak to one. For you, because you said that there are different people in the party and they want different things. So let's be sure which of the the opinions we're getting now. Yeah. Because you're planning for 2027. Yes, you have Kano right now, but things change, right? Yes. Things change really fast, and they say that the best you can do as a politician is to keep aligning such that you can grow bigger and bigger. No point staying in a small corner when you can be bigger. Is it insulting to offer Mr. Kwankwaso a vice presidential position?
Well, it's not insulting to offer him. Whether he accepts or not is a different thing. As I said, that has been our policy for long. I've been with Senator Kwankwaso since 2013, 2014. It's always been about the beliefs of the movement and whether those you're going to get involved with will allow you or make sure that such things happen. You have coalitions all around the world all the time, but it's always about sitting down and saying, this is our platform. When it comes to education, this is what we believe in. When it comes to health, this is what we believe in. So as I said elsewhere a few days ago, that yes, there are rumors at the moment, but it's a possibility. Because even after the 2023 elections, we said we were open to discussions with anyone who wants to move forward.
Let me explain what I mean. So you could get a vice presidential slot in the APC, you could, or have that coalition and maybe be the presidential candidate, have a Peter Obi as the vice, or be the vice and have Peter Obi as a presidential candidate. Because these are things you people are considering. Yes. And it's a gamble at the end of the day. But one, I don't know if you engage that, one usually looks better than the other.
Yes.
Which one is better? Staying right now where you are, joining the coalition where he can maybe call the shots some more, or joining the APC where naturally he will not have the upper hand. He will still have to negotiate and get some bits.
Well, again, I'm sorry. Again,
this is you. I'm asking you.
Oh, personally?
Of course.
Oh, personally, at my level, I've been talking to people from various parties. We have people from the Labour Party, the PDP, because the PDP is in turmoil, talking to us at my level with friends and what have you, and some members of the party. So yes, that is going on. We haven't had any talks with anyone from the APC. Yes, people from the APC have called me to say, oh, if he's offered, please encourage him to accept. You know, but that's different. But personally, I've had conversations with people regarding coming together, building something together. But, you know, it's a team game. It's when you talk about the party or the movement, it's a team game.
Right.
And it's not your will, my will be done. It depends on the average, you know, decisions from people, whichever is more popular.
Spoken like a true politician. Keep your options open. Mr. Ladipo Johnson, National Publicity Secretary of the NNPP, thank you for your time. Somehow the NNPP is back in the phrase, like the bride now, and everybody's trying to win. But we'll see.
That's why
we have the good numbers.
That's why Dr. Nebunam is fed up, because you know the name. It says a new Nigeria. And that's what we're all working towards, even you.
Well, we'll let you go while we stay with Mr. Moka for just a moment, right? So thank you for coming on the program.
I was going to ask Mr. Moka, Jeffrey, just before you come in. What's been described as a curse of the national chairman of the APC. And yes, we have had Chief Bisi Akande, who was sort of transition in that sense. But we had John Odige Oyegun. You know, he got a lot of support from President Buhari, but he was replaced in 2018 at the National Convention. Then Adams Oshiomhole came in. We know what happened. May Malabuni came in as well. Abdullahi Adamu came in. And then Umar Ganduje came in, and it looks like you can almost predict that once the national chairman of the APC is coming in, they're almost telling him, you know that you will not complete your tenure. What is it exactly? Is it a curse? Is it a thing that the APC just does? Or what exactly?
Kayode, we are a very young political party, and one that is evolving in its natural direction. So the idea that a national chairman of Africa's largest party would resign, it's not altogether unusual. It's not. This is Nigeria's ruling party today, and as you can imagine, if you have the kind of pressure you have on the leadership of opposition political parties like the PDP, like the Labour Party, like the other parties. Now, you know, you must understand that the intensity of and the pace of events and of activities and of pressure is magnified for a party as big, you know, like ours, the APC. What I think matters is not whether a chairman resigns, as Dr. Ganduje has resigned. I think it has to do with the seriousness, the cogency of our succession process. With all of these successions you've referenced, with Abdoulaye Adamu, for example, we had a smooth transition to Dr. Ganduje, as we expect now to have another smooth transition from Dr. Ganduje to a new national chairman. I think that's really what counts. We're building our capacity, we're building our institution. Yes, we're going to have these hiccups, every once in a while, but make no mistake, I think the will to deal with these matters, resolve them, move forward, even get stronger, is there. It's very palpable in our party, and we're very confident we're going to emerge out of this, stronger even.
All right, Mr. Moka, you've spoken again like a true politician, weaving your words very carefully. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. And one of the elephants in the room is to the fact that this speculation whether Kashim Shettima will follow the president as his running mate in 2027 created that scenario in Gombe State. As a matter of fact, I think I read a statement courtesy of the Deputy Senate President, Senator Barral, saying that, well, he's a big supporter of the president, and the president has his support any day, including serving in any capacity if he's called upon. And so, this thing starts as nuances. So, straight question, Mr. Moka, is there, of course, the president reserves the right to choose who he wants to choose, so let's be clear on that. Is there a plan to maybe rejig the electioneering period and the campaign such that we may have a new running mate for the president?
Jeff, you called it as it is. And by the way, I'm sitting here speaking as Felix Moka, the national spokesman of APC. So I must speak like, the national spokesman of APC. But I'm being very frank with you. And because anything else other than this would be speculative. Now, you called it, which is that the president has the exclusive prerogative to decide who he chooses to run with as vice president. He freely chose, our vice president, our current vice president, Senator Kashim Shettima, to be his vice president. And, I think it's wrong, quite frankly, for us, even for us in the party, to wake up in the morning on a day like this and begin to speculate about, who or how the president is going to choose his, vice president in 2027. We have a sitting vice president. And that's all we care about, quite frankly, for today. Because, again, when you see the system of endorsements that we've witnessed, it's really about the president. And that is because in our primaries, it is the president who is on the ballot at that internal election. It's not the, twin ticket, the joint ticket that we have at the national election. So as a political party, we're very intentional. We don't bring in things that are not necessary in the moment. We deal with existential questions and plan towards the future. When we get there, after this president, who has not even told anyone that, he's running, once he has indicated, as is required by our procedures, to say, yes, I intend to run for re-election, then that triggers the entire process leading to the primaries. And then, once he has his ticket, he does what he needs to do to have a vice president. So we don't speculate about that, and it's not because we're withholding. Can you imagine if I were to come and tell you that? I don't know that. I can't tell you what I don't know. It's not my duty. It's not even the duty of the NWC to lead in that conversation. Yeah, it is a prerogative of the president. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, Mr. Moka, as we wind down, as I've said, he reserves the right. He hasn't declared his intention yet, but he's gotten endorsement and he's appreciated those who have endorsed him. But why do you think the people that agitated in Gombe decided to agitate? What do you think they've heard and known that is making them to start early in the day to mount this pressure?
People saw.
Mr. Moka, if you can unmute, I'm not sure we can hear you.
anything. I don't know why. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please, can complete the wind down, yes.
Oh, yes. No, I was just saying that we shouldn't really read too much into the events at the meeting in Gombe. People come to a meeting, sometimes they have misunderstanding, even while they're speaking, while they're on their feet at the meeting, and then things play out. And it played out. We've taken steps to better educate our people about the process of our internal primaries, how it works. So not everybody has the same understanding. These are also legal matters, procedural matters that you don't expect, everyone in the party to have, that top-notch understanding about how it works. So based on that misunderstanding, people can do things and say things. But, since that meeting, we've taken steps to provide more information about how this process works so that everyone can be calm to allow the process to, in fact, work as it should.
All right, Mr. Felix Moka, interesting days ahead, clearly. But again, the answers will come in the coming days. We'll see how the politics plays out, and more importantly, the governance as well, because while all of the politics is going on, there is a real need for governance as well. But we have to thank you so much. I've been speaking with Mr. Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling APC. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we're going to Rivers State. It looks like the FCT minister and Governor Wike-Fubara are now back together. But are we really back together? What does this mean? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us. Well, let's go over to Rivers State now. Looks like everything is hunky-dory between the FCT minister and Governor Wike-Fubara. After the intervention, I would say the second or third or fourth intervention by the president, we eventually saw them together. By the way, if you've been following this trend, you realize that things had degenerated. But hey, after that meeting, they visited Rivers State together, and it looked like, when you reconcile two lovers, the way they just come back together and you forget all of the things that have happened. They attended the burial, and you see Governor Fubara also addressing the public, speaking about what is expected now. So there are questions about what then happens to all the people who have picked their positions, who have said, well, no, we will not allow this. People who have backed him and said, well, we will fight to finish, just to ensure that Wike-Fubara, or at least the governance in Rivers State, is democratic and there is no influence from outside. What then happens now? Well, we're joined on the program by Human and Environmental Rights Defender, Member Governing Council High Prep, Comrade Celestine Apobari, joins us virtually today. Welcome to the program. Let me just get first your opening thoughts on this. Are you happy that this has happened? And listening to Governor Fubara, how do you feel?
Well, good morning, Mr. Kayode and Jeffrey, and good morning, viewers out there. It is sad and very unfortunate that we have reduced the issue of governance to individual feelings, what the governor feels, or what the minister feels. Because I know that governance should start the morning after declaration of winner of an election. And we are here asking me how I feel about what the governor, has said. If you ask me, I would say that I feel sad that Rivers State, one of the greatest states in this country, is being used as a toy, playing ping pong with it. I feel so sad. I'm happy that it has ended, that If Wike feels bad, then governance should go down. If Sim feels bad, governance at Rivers State should go down. It shouldn't be. And I sympathize with Rivers people because since the governor was removed, governance stopped. In fact, if you go to some of the streets in Port Harcourt, you see heaps of garbages. Governance should not be weaved around the feelings of two persons. But I'm happy that they have reconciled, and I was expecting Mr. President to call off the state of emergency immediately, maybe that Saturday or yesterday, because if you were hired to nurse a child and the child is dead, you have to go. I feel that the resources of Rivers State have been taken away to the extent that a local election body, RISEC, will be having an outsider from the state of the administrator to be the chairman. What if he was given the opportunity to appoint commissioners? More than half would have come from Cross River State. That shouldn't be. It shouldn't be so happy. If you ask me, I'm not happy that this whole thing happened to River State, but I'm happy that it has ended so that we can move on.
Has it really ended, though, comrade? Do you think it has ended? Because we've been down this road before. The last time, they even put pen to paper. They signed that agreement, and there were points outlined. Everybody saw those outlined points. It was made public. So now, we don't know what the deal is. Maybe you know, you can tell us. We've not seen people put pen to paper. We just saw them shaking hands and going around the town. So has it really ended?
Yes, I think it has ended because they have feelings too. Because, I mean, if we were living in River State in those days, the two of them, these two actors, will never have any appointment on behalf of Rivers people, because they are the two that have led to this nonsense, that an outsider is becoming a governor in Rivers State. Who knows how much has been taken away from our state? I mean, it shouldn't be. In fact, I was even asking that at the expiration of the tenure of the administrator, which I expect that he should be leaving by today, he should give us an account of how much he spent of our money. Because I know that he did not invest in any project. He did not carry out any project. So if he has paid salaries, those are the things, or he fueled his car, these are the only things. And the recent budget that was approved, I will not want to hear that 1 kobo of that money was spent by the administrator. 1 kobo of it should not be spent by the administrator. The money belongs to all Rivers people. The money is not Sim's money, or Wike's money, or Tinubu's money. It's our resources.
So, comrade, who do you blame in this whole quagmire or conundrum that seemed to have been resolved? Is it the dramatist personnel here, i.e. Nyesom Wike, Wike-Fubara, and the members of the assembly and everybody around them, or the president who suspended them and declared a state of emergency? Who do you put the blame on?
Well, they said it is the rat in the house that go outside. They call the rat outside that there is crayfish. Yeah. Mr. President did not just come to River State to declare a state of emergency. You saw the days before the declaration of state of emergency. After the Supreme Court ruling, it was, in fact, I have to commend them somehow that they did not resort to violence. Just imagine that supporters of Sim are carrying arms. Then the supporters of Wike also, respond with arms. Imagine what would have happened to River State. So it was at that paper pitch, it was very high. The tension was very high. Grandstanding. The governor said he wanted to present the budget. The assembly said he was not sincere, that he did not follow due process, and all that. I don't want us to go over what has happened, but a lot happened. But I think we should put that behind us now and move forward. I feel sincerely, because Wike if you look at him, yeah, he's a very tough person, but if you study him, I think he has a good heart too. You see the number of people, we have never had it like this in Rivers State, the number of people that he has taken to Abuja to give appointments, and some of those that offended him before, when they come together and he accept them, it will look as if they did not offend him at all. So I think that he has, whatever that made him angry is gone. He has taken Sim back. They drove in the same car over the weekend. They attended the event together. And Sim too, no matter what happened, he's a nice guy too. Look at the steps he took, even in the midst of challenges. Some governors will not have carried out one project, but in the midst of that challenge, he found a way to survive. He was aborting this project, doing that, and commissioning projects. So I think the end has come. Sim has been with Wike for a very long time, more than all the people around him. They know themselves very well. I feel in my heart that Sim is sincere. I also feel in my heart that Wike is sincere and genuine with what has happened. The assembly people have no choice. They are representing Rivers State. They have to return to their duty posts and ensure that Rivers State move forward.
All right, comrade, one more thing, just as we move on with the conversation, is to fair, I'm happy you were able to find the good and the bad side of each of the persons involved here. I mean, Wike and the governor, now suspended governor of Rivers State, Wike-Fubara. I saw, I think, one of the remarks he made to the effect that this is a time, talking to his supporter, this is a time for them to support him, now that they may not get anything, because he was talking to, I think, those who are still nursing ambition to be local government chairman. He said, forget about that. So that's why people are saying, is this more of a reconciliation or a surrender of a political godson to his political godfather? And now he's learned his lesson in that sense. What do you think is going to affect his base? Which is why we're asking the question whether or not this is peace at last.
Yeah, this is not a piece of the graveyard. I think it is peace at last. The prodigal son went his way, and when he realized himself, he came home, and the father received him. From what we learn from the Bible, the father even organized a party for him. There was nowhere written where the father went back to hit him. So I think, and we will not just sit down to fold our hands. We will be here talking. From now onwards, we will be able to come together, the comrades in this state. Because why we stayed away from this whole thing was the way Sim came. It was seen as an imposition. Until when he had that disagreement with Wike, nobody took Sim seriously. It was when he had that disagreement and they said, oh, so this man had the God to do certain things like this. And we felt good that, okay, Rivers money will not be shared to so many pockets now. At least few will go for development. And I just pray that Governor Sim will see the love that Rivers people had for him, genuine love. And he is the man on the driving seat. He is the one that Rivers people are looking up to. And I know that Wike is doing very well in Abuja. And Wike will not want him to fail in Rivers State. Right. As for his supporters, they were not there to loot the state. They were there to support him. Some of the people that supported Tinubu are not having an appointment. Faleke is still in the House of Rep. It was Manu Zabe that brought Tinubu to Rivers State. I'm not seeing the Manu Zabe anywhere around this thing. So it is not that because you supported the system, so it's shared. Everything that belongs to the state will be shared. Let them also support. We will all support and ensure that the government delivers dividends of democracy to the people. It is not about what you take in your pocket, what you take to your house.
Right. So there are those on the side of the FCT minister who are not happy with the way things have turned out. For some of them, they probably wanted the governor out based on the build up to this point. And now there are those on the side of Governor Fubara who are also not happy, particularly with the things he said over the weekend, saying, well, they must accept the conditions for peace and all that. Are you aware of these conditions? It's been said that, well, he may not be seeking re-election. It's been said that, well, a lot of the offices would be populated by those who are, in support, or at least in the camp, in that sense, of the FCT minister. So a lot of people have looked at some of these reported conditions and said, well, he's holding the short end of the stick. This is not a good deal for him.
Well, we all think so, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Wike is not a devil. He's a human being too. Governor Sim cannot be sitting there and not giving you an opportunity to appoint some commissioners and his personal aides, at least his own chief of staff, the secretary to his government, his CSO, and at least he will not take up some commissioners. He should have power, and I know that Wike will not want him to. It's not. We are here. I don't think it will happen. So any person that wants to feel bad can feel bad. It means that such a person wanted to steal River State and lock them in their pockets. But if River State is for development, for everybody, there's no need to be angry. In fact, I'm happy that from now onward, that my state will move forward. Because I was seeing this, as soon as they told me that a committee from the National Assembly will be overseeing River State as the River State resources is finished. Don't look at the budget that was submitted. Over 400 million was added. That is budget padding. That is budget padding. $500 million. It will go a long way. It can build a new city. River State in one city state. I've always said that no society develop in one city state. That $500 million can build another city. Bori, the capital of Canada government, is an emerging city. With the completion of the border of Bonny Road, the High-Press Center for Excellence, and some of these happening there, that is a city in the making. There are 500 billion. We do a lot of things there. That budget party, and that's why I'm saying that one kobo of that money should not be spent by the administrator. Let the elected governor preside over this expenditure.
But the challenge is that what does that make the governor if he has to, in that sense, give up so much? Because if you see the meeting that they had with the president, who was on his side in that meeting? It was mainly populated by Honorable Martins Amewule, a lot of other people in the camp of the FCT minister. So really, what does that make the governor? Is this not even worse than where a lot of people said they were coming from, if this is going to be the arrangement? I must imagine that some people feel betrayed, even feel angry with Governor Fubara for accepting this.
I don't think so. Governor Fubara did not jump from the moon. These same people you're talking about work for him to become governor. They sacrificed a lot in resources, time. There are people that are no longer on talking terms today because they supported him. So it mustn't be people that he nominates that should be there. And these are all people that are leaders in the state. Everybody will not be there. Okay, the previous two meetings that had the gladiators, what came out? Nothing. You had the gladiators that were there, that even read the agreement or whatever, that the resolutions. Yeah. Nothing came out. But I can tell you that now that these same people you are talking about, attended meeting, you will see the peace. And Sim has always been with them. They are members of the same family, like Governor Sim said, that we have been together. And they have been together all these days. So I don't see the difference between those who were not there and those who were there. What is important is the outcome. Are we having peace? Yes.
Well, comrade, very interesting, really, because it looks like we spent about 2 years fighting, going around the circle, only to come back to the same spots. Some will even say even worse, at least from the outcomes for the governor. So maybe the time of the Rivers State people was really wasted prosecuting this fight, going back and forth all over courts, the protests, the violence and all of that. For what? But we have to thank you so much. We've been speaking with Comrade Celestine Wike-Fubara, human and environmental rights defender, a member governing council, High Prep. We wish Rivers State the very best, and we'll, of course, we'll see how things play out in the coming days. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, my brother, for having me. Thank you, Rivers.
So let's put this out again for the people of Rivers and the people of Nigeria. It is our question: is this the best way to resolve the Rivers crisis? With some of the agreements, the details that have been coming out, and all of that. Is this really the best way? Is this the best for the people of Rivers State? You can absolutely share your thoughts with us on all of those platforms via email at themorningbreaf@channelstv.com or on WhatsApp, that number right there on the screen, or just hashtag CTV Morning Brief on any of the social media platforms. And we'll get your comments through before we close the show. Is this the best way to resolve the crisis? Let us know. Well, while we keep our eyes on what's happening in Rivers State, we'll take a moment now, and when we return, there are lots of organizations on the queue waiting to register their political parties with INEC. Is that the way to go? If there will be any registration whatsoever, what should the criteria look like, and how do we ensure electoral integrity? Samson Itodo joins us next on the program. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk to Mr. Samson Itodo. He's the Executive Director of YEGA Africa, joining us from our Abuja studios. Mr. Itodo, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone.
I know that you're big on election management and electoral integrity, which is the fulcrum of our conversation today. But as a first question, we've asked questions around why these politicians are defecting left, right, and center. I think they've all agreed to a large extent. I've even heard governors say that, and even challenging anybody who has a different position to the fact that the parties don't have ideologies. So what's the difference between APC, PDP, and Labour Party in that sense? So they keep saying these things. But some have said that the reason for the movement, beside the internal wrangling of the opposition not being steady, is also the allegations to the effect that the election is the opposition versus INEC. That's the way people put it. More like it's either you align with the ruling party or INEC will do, you know, some of the things people say. What do you make when you hear such things and juxtapose it with what you're working on as far as electoral integrity is concerned?
Well, thanks. First, let me preface my response by commending both of you. I listened to your initial remarks when you started this program about how the media should hold, political leaders to account in the absence of strong opposition. I was quite inspired to hear both of you and the way you sound. Please continue on that trajectory, because that's what gives hope, what gives life to democracy. To your question, you see, all the political structures and platforms that we have in the country today suffer from similar deficiencies. The first is elite capture. The second is patronage-based structures within the parties. And then lastly is just the lack of regard for democratic ethos and principles. All the political parties that, we have. So when you see an institution like INEC under intense pressure, it is under pressure because you have a weak political party system where political parties lack ideology, they lack regards for the principles of internal democracy within parties. Political parties exist as an aggregation of social interest, not just presenting candidates for power. But what you see is just special purpose vehicles. And our parties have not emerged, as strong political institutions that drive, democracy. So when you look at this vis-a-vis the Electoral Commission, there has been questions as to who should have the power to register political parties, Do we need this number of political parties, or what we should do is regulate access, to the ballot? Because at the heart of this is the fundamental constitutional right of association, which cannot be infringed upon. So you need to recognize that right. But should we have all the parties, on the ballot is a big question that we should ask. And our disposition have always been that, yes, you may not regulate the number of political parties, but you can regulate the number of parties who should be on the ballot. So impose conditions for access, to the ballot. The second point is who has the power to regulate political parties, especially when you have a political class that has no regards, even for their own internal rules, their own constitution, talk more of having regards for the Constitution and our Electoral Act. And so who should regulate those parties? INEC exists as a regulatory agency. And so when you look at improvements that have been made in the Electoral Act to the effect that when a party is convening a meeting for the purposes of either electing its leaders or electing candidates or for the purposes of merger, INEC needs to be present to monitor those meetings. But if you look at the level of compliance, that has also been a big question. And so we have said consistently that INEC is overburdened with this responsibility of regulating political parties. And in line with Justice Uwe's committee's recommendation, that there is a great need to set up a different institution to manage the registration and the regulation of parties. But I dare say that I don't think that we should have over 150 political parties on the ballot. We can have more parties, but regulate access, to the ballot because of the right that people have for association.
Mr. Toto, we're going to come to that great work you've done on electoral integrity in just a moment, but you've spoken about internal democracy, and I just went to the APC's page where they informed Nigerians about the resignation of Abdullahi Umar Ganduje as the chairman of the party. I'm going to read what under it is the statement by Felix Moka. Just above it, directing people to read the main statement, it says, the president has directed the deputy national chairman North, Honorable Ali Bukr Dolari, to assume the position of acting national chairman. When I see things like this, for me, who try to be a law enthusiast, it's very confusing because if the party has a constitution, I don't know what their party says, the law, I'll check it out. The party is supposed to be clear on when things like this happen. Would they have waited for the direction of the president? Is it not natural that somebody from that area? I want you to speak to the issue of upholding the laws that they have all sworn to abide by as to discretional directions.
Thank you very much. There lies the problem. There lies the problem. When you think about internal democracy within parties, what do we mean? We simply mean that in a political party, how are leaders of a political party elected? Are they elected via a democratic and transparent process? Two, how are decisions being made within the political party? Do they meet the test of inclusivity, transparency, and accountability? Or is just one individual or a set of individuals that take decisions for the party and lord it over the other members of the party? The third domain is in the election or selection of candidates. And to what extent can we say that process is democratic and transparent? In this particular instance, this is a clear manifestation of the weak state of our political parties. Because how can the president direct? The party should have, and this is the whole problem within our party system across board, that we build parties around individuals. And so individuals are ascribed as leaders of a party, even when they are not elected as officials of the party. In an ideal case, what you expect is that the constitution of the party is clear as to what happens in the event an officer of the party resigns. You kickstart, you activate the process. You know, and you don't need any directives from anyone, regardless of the position that they hold. So there lies a manifestation of the weak state of our political parties, and that our parties are subservient, you know, to the dictates of individuals and the parties. And it's not just the APC. You talked about the NNPP this morning, and you saw the response, you know, from the individual who represented the party. It's the same thing with the PDP. It's the same thing with Labour Party. Until we stop building political parties around individuals, but around a common ideology, around collective and shared values that puts people at the center, that members of the parties have a say in the way their party is governed, you continue to have special purpose vehicles that simply exist to advance interests of individuals as opposed to the collective interest of members, of those who subscribe, you know, to the membership of those parties.
So wherein lies the hope now? Are you hopeful seeing the 110 organizations that are seeking registration of political parties? Key of Freedom Party, Absolute Congress, All Grassroots Party. I'm just picking some of the, you know, the names on that list. You see this one, About Nigeria Party. That will be called ABNP. Zuma Reform. Do you see any hope in some of these organizations seeking to register political parties? Do they offer hope to you? And how do we really separate the contenders from the pretenders in this sense?
So from a rights perspective, a human rights perspective, and as Yaiga Africa, we exist to defend human rights. The Constitution is very clear that the freedom of association, the freedom of expression shall be guaranteed in this geographical enclave that we call Nigeria, because we are a constitutional democracy. And to that effect, I respect the choices of people who choose to congregate in an association seeking to be recognized as a political party. They have a right to do so. So that is established. The other layer to this is, and your question is, do I have hope? I have hope to the extent that these political associations, if registered, will uphold the tenets of democracy. And what do I mean? That one, that they are not proxies for certain other political or established political parties. In other words, that they are not proxies for the big political parties. That secondly, that they don't perpetuate the same ugly practices that we see within the existing political structures. And thirdly, that they bring an alternative, you know, to the table. And if they don't, then honestly, I do not have any hope, because these groups will constitute the same problems that we have. There is no point having a long ballot paper confusing voters when all of these political associations are nothing but mushroom political parties. It doesn't make any sense. In fact, it comes to the country at a cost, because the amount of money that we would expend on printing a ballot paper would increase because of the number of logos that you need to have within our ballot paper. So I have hope if all of these conditions are met. But if they are not, then I think this will become a dark side of our electoral process. But people do have a right, you know, to associate, and INEC is bound by the Constitution to protect the rights of these individuals if they meet the set criteria. And if they don't meet the criteria, then there is no point actually spending time on this, because it will be nothing but a mere distraction, you know, preventing the Electoral Commission from conducting other activities as it prepares to the 2027 elections that is just 599 days from today.
So we really hope that these proposals offer some hope. You see, Free Will Humanitarian Party, above all. That's it, just above all. There's this Reset Nigeria, RN, and the list goes on as we've been trying to put them up from time to time on the screen. 110 of them. So while all of this is happening, Mr. Itodo, there's also the real work that needs to be done, and that's where the rubber meets the road, as they say, and it concerns election integrity. You've been doing some work. In fact, you're counting down literally, to the next election. And at this point, you have some findings about the integrity of Nigeria's 2027 general election at risk. Maybe speak to us about that.
So, thanks, Coyote. So, this is midterm to the 2027 elections. It's midterm between the 2023 and the 2027 elections. And like I mentioned earlier, that today makes it 599 days to the 2023 elections. By February next year, INEC is expected to issue the timetable for the elections. And with that, we start preparing for the primaries that will start in April next year. So plus or minus, we are less than 7 months to the commencement of primaries for the 2027 elections. And that explains the flurry of political activities within the polity. So last week we issued our second report. This is the second report on the state of electoral integrity since the 2023 elections. And what are our conclusions and findings? The first one is that the 2027 elections might be the most compromised and the most monetized election in Nigeria's history since return to democracy in 1999. And we've advanced reasons for that. The first is the level of trust in the Electoral Commission and in the electoral process that is at its lowest ebb, that successive elections since 2023 have done nothing but dampen and broken the trust that citizens have in the electoral process. The second point that we also raised was that the political process is being primed in a way that it eliminates any form of political competition. And that is troubling and disturbing for our electoral process. The third was that the level of vote buying and vote selling in the 2027 elections might hit a record high in the next election because of the economic hardship that Nigerians face as at today. And that's why we have concluded that the 2027 election risks being the most compromised and the most monetized election if nothing is done to prevent and mitigate this risk. And we've advanced, actions that can be taken. First of all, is the National Assembly needs to conclude on the amendments to the electoral process because there are ongoing reforms process, and the National Assembly needs to conclude on the amendments to the Electoral Act and the Constitution. This week, there will be several public hearings across different geopolitical zones on the Constitution review. But as you see, the National Assembly will proceed on recess at the end of July. And the question is, will we have an Electoral Act way before the next election in November? We don't know. The second point is the scrutiny that is required for appointments into INEC. The current INEC chairman would leave office at the first week of December. The key question is who will be the next chairman of INEC, who will be the next commissioners of INEC. And we've called on citizens to be actively involved in providing oversight on who gets appointed, because the process of rebuilding trust in the electoral process begins with the appointment of individuals who have the moral integrity, the moral capital, the competence, and then those who do not have any political leanings. Previous appointments to INEC have raised concerns about the non-partisanship of those individuals. And if you appoint an INEC chairman that is politically aligned, it will break, the trust that citizens have in the process. This is why the president needs to act as a statesman at this particular point. If he cares about political or democratic legitimacy, he needs to ensure that whoever succeeds Professor Mahmoud is one that does not have any political leanings, is one that has integrity, and is one that has the competence, because we would have a short time for the next chairman of INEC to settle ahead of the 2027 elections.
Samson Itodo, as always, thank you so much for the work you do with Young Africa. We'll continue to touch base, and we hope that some of the things that your organization and several others have been at the vanguard of, the authorities will hit to them, and so that we can have a better election system or electoral system going forward. Thank you so much. Samson Itodo is the Executive Director of Young Africa. Thank you for joining us on the program. All right, so let's get to what you've been saying. There are things happening at the moment, Kayode, but let's begin with the things we've been tracking for just a bit. I think we'll go to, yes, we know something is happening at this National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party, where we understand the security has been beefed up. We'll bring you that in just a moment. But let's tell you some of the things that we call the front pages of the social media. Security operatives rescuing 13 abducted passengers in Benue State. We're happy to hear this because when it comes to Benue, we always hear of killings and all of that. So now that the security agencies are stepping up their game, we must commend them. Fort Knox says, glad they are safe, but we need lasting solutions to end these abductions. Glad they are safe. We need lasting solutions to end these abductions.
You know, these large-scale abductions leave a very bad taste in the mouth. And I've said time and again, when you say that, 20 people were killed in Nigeria, 200 people were killed, the world thinks, is this a country at war? Because the casualty figure just looks like a country at war. When you hear about large-scale abductions, I mean, yes, abduction is terrible, but if it's one, you know that it's a one-off thing, but you have tens of people kidnapped at a go, and certainly that is wrong in all shades of it. But it's great to see that they've been rescued, but more importantly, and not to see this happen again, but because you can almost ask an average Nigerian and they will tell you an abduction story, either personally or one that happened to someone close to them. And that is not right at all. Lots of other comments on this one. But as I said, Jeffrey, earlier on, well, the PDP National Secretariat, the one we call Wadata Plaza, is seeing a lot of security deployment as we speak to you right now. A caucus meeting is meant to hold today, so you'd expect that some major decisions would be taken. But we'll see how that plays out. But we can
Is it a caucus meeting or a NEC meeting? Let's be sure. We're not even sure what is going on.
Well, so let me refer to the statement that was put out by the PDP, saying that the 100th NEC still postponed for statutory reasons, and the National Caucus still holds today. That's June the 30th. And that's according to the acting national chairman.
That's according to Damagum. Sheyi Makinde, Governor Peter Mba, they were in Enugu yesterday also. They are saying the NEC still holds. That Damagum and Bala cannot unilaterally cancel veto on a NEC. NEC is a resolution. That's the highest organ of the party before, just next, I think below convention. After convention is NEC. So I can... So we're going to fight.
So you see the confusion?
We don't even know what... Let's just call it, there's going to be a meeting at the People's Democratic Party Secretariat.
So it can either be the NEC
Can either be the NEC or the expanded caucus. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's show you some of the visuals we're getting from the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party. We understand security has been beefed up. I've never seen this kind of thing in my life for a long time. The confusion, and if you look, these are very simple things to address. But for ego and wrangling and armor force politics, there's nothing we've not seen in this dispensation.
The PDP has not recovered since pre-2015.
They haven't.
They have not recovered from...
No, they haven't recovered since 2015, I agree.
They've not recovered. It's been from one ICU to the other. It's almost like, you have to keep referring the patients. But that's what we have. It's something we're following for you. That's what that's a plus.
I think their case is worse now, given the kind of politics Wike is playing. I think that says... So 2023, in 2025, certain people left the party and others walked against the party, not openly. But in 2015, I should say that. But in 2023, it was bare-faced anti-party, I don't care whose ox is God, there's nothing you can do about it, I will do as I please. And I'm going to repeat it in 2027 kind of politics.
And there was enough to go around.
And there was enough to go around.
But let's see what you're saying about the Rivers situation. Is this the best way to resolve the crisis? Ayodeji from Bagada has a first comment saying the Rivers case was a complete victory for Wike. In summary, Ayodeji says River State, he thinks, is the property of Mr. Wike. If the deal entails all that has been shared in the news, democracy has been held hostage. in River State. It's important to say that a state or any entity, even a local government, cannot belong to an individual. But I think I get what you're saying. But they will say in politics, it's really
sovereignty belongs to the people.
Yeah, and it's agreements.
Sovereignty belongs to the people. You know, I was listening to Nyesom Wike and his political godson. Wike used the word agreement 4 times, and then Fubara used it once. But we want to find out what that agreement is at the end. But one other thing that has been crossing my mind, I don't know why the Supreme Court has not expedited action on a judgment on whether or not the president has the discretional latitude to suspend elected officials. I think the Supreme Court should rise to the occasion for once and do the needful. Let's be clear on this, because the last time you went to court, the substantive issues were not dealt with. There are 5 ways we're aware of. It's either the person dies, resigns, his tenure expires, court removes him, and there's one other one like that. There are about 5 ways. Impeachment, yes, impeachment. That's how the Constitution is very clear on how all of this scenario can play out. But nothing in the Constitution says the president can suspend elected officials, which is why we need the Supreme Court to give interpretation to Section 305 as to the latitude of the state of emergency. Whether that will happen, we do not know, so that this confusion ends once and for all.
There's a comment from someone in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, Sunni, that's the name, saying, Governor Wike-Fubara, to me, to this user, betrayed the people who laid down their heads for him. From the Rivers elders to Rivers women who are harassed and tear-gassed for his sake, and to other critical stakeholders who have been in this fight for him. This user says he won't be what we have known him for when he returns.
All right, this is coming in from our correspondent who is at the Wadata Plaza. So just let's give you a heads up as to what's going on. Every security presence, you categorize it as unusual at the Wadata Plaza. He said an official of the party spoke to Channels Television off camera, saying the police were deployed to either stop the proposed NEC or expanded caucus. You see what I'm saying? However, we've seen some staff of the party allowed to go into the premises of the secretary without any resistance from the police. So who deployed the police here is the question we must answer. What a time, what a day, what a People's Democratic Party.
The police will be deployed by the IGP or at least the Commissioner of Police in the FCT. Maybe we'll take a few more comments as we wind down on this River State situation. Aliu from Port Harcourt saying it is quite unfortunate that the idea of a state of emergency had to be modified just to favor a political ideology. What annoys this user the most is how this was settled in Abuja. Well, thankfully we had a conversation about election integrity, so that should speak to your last line about elections in Nigeria.
I believe in Nigeria a lot. I cannot give up on our country, and I believe someday we're going to get around these rough edges and these rough patches. But I think the last person here said, Kayode Olaifa says, to a big question of the day in River State, I don't think there can ever be a best approach to solving political crisis that is almost turning chaotic like that of River State. Whether you call it a total surrender or not, to have peace, there must be a compromise by either of the parties in dispute, and I really commend the suspended governor for towing the line of peace in the interest of the Rivers people. Okay, that's the much. Your thoughts are always welcome. That's why we're here, to make sure we amplify them. We just pray our democracy evolves to the point where we will be referenced like we reference other democracies around the world. But right now, we're still rough around the edges. We're going to get around it. And all of us, you and I, have to be on that table. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Bye-bye.
I'm Kayode Okikelu. Sunrise Daily is next. Stay with us.